Well, while we wait for the second half of day two, surprise, I'm here. It is 6:20 a.m. on the East Coast in the US. If you are joining me from North America, I commend you for having woken up in the middle of the night or stayed up for the rest of the night to watch this. For everybody around the world, still very envious of all of you. But this is the RockerPod Recap show, and I'm just going to go through the free dance and the women's free skate that we just saw before we finish the day with the men's free and the pairs free. So we started off the day with the free dance, and it was Chalk and Bates with the win expectedly. Zingas Kolesnik second. Chalk and Bates with a 208.25. Zingas Kolesnik 202.27. Loparieva Brissot with the bronze 196.60, and Smart and Deke go up from sixth place to get fourth in with a 181.51. So it was not a drama free kind of an ice dance event. There was a lot of stuff that happened. Unfortunately, Caroline Green, Michael Parsons had to withdraw. They did the full warm up. I think they did the full practice this morning, and just decided that it was probably too risky. They didn't want to risk more injury or put anybody in danger out there. And so Michael Parsons was saying that he said the word "we" sustained an injury, whether it was his injury or Caroline's injury or both of them had an injury from the rhythm dance. We don't know. Michael Parsons did have that really jarring fall on the twizzle in the middle of the rhythm dance. So it could have been that. It could have been something else. Who knows? But wish them a good recovery. The season really is just starting, and I think it was probably good for them to feel like they are keeping it safe and conservative so that they can rest up for the rest of the season. So, not the cup of china that they wanted to have, especially given that this was really the head-to-head, one of the head-to-heads that were important, between them and Zingas Kolesnik in this case, and Zingas Kolesnik with the biggest international score of their career, first time over 200, and getting the silver here. And also because they get silver, they put themselves into contention to get into the Grand Prix final. Like that's no small feat. And getting to the final for them would be really huge if they are thinking about, what their path potentially to the Olympics might be. And then Loparia Rousseau had a much stronger free dance than we saw from them earlier in the season. The thing with that free dance that still for me is I think that the music cuts just don't allow me to get into the program as much. You'll notice that in the middle of the program they use the same music that Amber Glenn does for her free skate here, and because we've seen Amber Glenn's program so many times, you kind of expect that part of the music for them to build and into this kind of crescendo. And they sort of, right before it gets to a crescendo, they sort of get away from it and go back to Bjork. And so there were a couple of times in there where I was like, I'm with you, and then it like goes somewhere else, and I'm like, oh, I have to like catch up and come go back with you again. And it just, that free dance for me doesn't flow as well as last season's did. And so we'll see how they continue to improve on that this season. But a big I think something of a sigh of relief for them, because they have been head to head very close to Demugo and Le Mercier this season, and here they beat them by 12 points. So that changes the dynamic quite a bit, because I think earlier in the season you would have looked at those scores and you would have thought, okay, that the race for the second spot for the French dance teams is much closer than we thought it was. But they've now built back up a gap, and so that's silver and bronze. Chalk and Bates with their painted black flamenco matador and bull themed free dance. Their lifts were spectacular as always, especially that curve combo lift. I think that was, for me, the big highlight. They had a few things in there that cost them probably a good 6 to 7 points. At the very beginning, the choreographic assisted jump, they got the exclamation point for that, which means they didn't fulfill all the requirements. My guess is, having watched it again, that it was potentially that they did too many steps in between two of the jumps. So there was a maximum of 3 steps that you can do between the assisted jumps, and that potentially was the thing. And those choreographic elements, if you get the exclamation point, it can be very devastating to a score, because they would be used to getting something that is more in the I think probably 5 to 6 point range total for that element. Probably like a 4 to 5 point range, right? And they ended up getting a 2.29 for that element, and so that was in itself a thing. And then at the straight line lift later on, they got a level 2 on that, so that in itself cost them a couple of points. And then also Maddie Chalk's I think second twizzle was a little bit squeaky, and they called it, and they ended up getting she ended up getting a level 2 on that, and so that cost them a couple of points. So just kind of some free points that they gave away, that was the difference between them getting a 208 here versus something that's more in the 215 range. But I think overall it was a good start. There's a lot of room for them to improve here. I don't think the timing was quite there yet for them. The concept and some of the packaging and the composition of that free dance was really good, and I think the as the season goes on, they're gonna clean that up quite a bit. So that's the ice dance event. And then we just finished up the women's free skate, and it wasn't quite the kind of maybe pristineness that we got in the short program, but it was still a very good competition. Amber Glenn winning her second Cup of China title in a row with a 2:14.78, just a little bit over her season best that she got earlier in the season. Alyssa Liu with a big season's best, 2:12.07 for the silver. And crazily enough, the world champion gets her very first Grand Prix medal. So she gets a silver. Rinka Watanabe with the bronze, 198.63. Anastasia Kubanova, 197.88. She was actually third in the free skate and just couldn't make up the difference between the short and the free over Rinka Watanabe's really strong short program. And then Jia Shin fifth with a 195.43. Amber Glenn once again had trouble with her combo, which you usually don't see that happening with her. That combo has been so just like so on almost all the time, and we saw her have issues with it in the short and also now in the free. Either way, it was still a fantastic program. I think the thing about her trajectory over the past couple of seasons that has been really good to see is that, if you remember a couple seasons ago, she was having these bang out first half of the short of the free skates, and then it just falls apart in the second half. And last year she kind of started getting it, but also still, like, she would make a mistake on the last jump, or she would make a mistake on the second to last jump. And now we're seeing the whole thing kind of come together. Her second half was very strong, and that carried her to this win here. Alyssa Liu, going back to last year's free skate, I think definitely stronger for her than what she debuted with the Lady Gaga free skate. She has been saying that they're still working on the Gaga free skate, and so we may see it back if it's ready later on in the season. But the there it wasn't a perfect program. She had a step out of her second Lutz, but everything else was generally very strong. The thing that was great about that one was she really thought on her feet, and you could see she was like, "Do I do this or do I not?" Because the second Lutz, she was supposed to combine that with a double axel double toe, and she had put her foot down and I think stepped out of that triple Lutz, and so if she would have gone up for the double axel, they wouldn't have counted that. And so she was in her head being like, okay, I don't do this, right? I put it on the next jump, and so that's what she did. Ended up putting it on the flip, so she did a flip double axel double toe, and then put the double toe, which was supposed to be on the flip, on the last jump, which was a double axel. So she still maximized her points. The flip axel toe ended up getting a couple of calls, an unclear edge on the flip, and then a Q on the double axel. So, still kind of things there that could have gotten her a bigger score. I mean, she basically lost, say, six or 7 points because of the Lutz error, and then the calls on the flip combo. And so she could have won the title here with that content, but did not. Just didn't end up doing enough in that second half. But still, I think strong showing for her. Definitely a lot stronger than she was to begin the season, and we'll see how the rest of the series goes. Both of them, Amber and Alyssa, now set themselves up for the Grand Prix final with the gold and silver. Rinka Watanabe really just kind of dug herself out of a bit of a hole that she's been having over the past couple of competitions. Wasn't a clean skate by any means, but stronger than what she's done. There were just way too many calls in there, and that that just like kept her from really getting the score up there. She did land a clean triple axel at the very beginning, but then she fell on the triple toe that was in combo with that axel, and then a second axel was under, and then there were just a variety of calls that ended up happening, and then she singled the loop. So all of that, and like really one more call, and actually a couple of calls went to her favor at the very end with the step sequence and with a couple of the spins. So she was actually, while the judges were kind of tabulating their score, she was actually in jeopardy of getting off of the podium because Gubanova skated very well earlier on, but she ended up getting, I think the step sequence got leveled up, and then one of the other spins got leveled up, and so she ended up winning the bronze over Gubanova by less than a point. So that was the women's free skate. It was a fun event. There was a lot of good skating there. It wasn't, again, quite as pristine as some of the skating was in the short program, but still very good for this time of the season. So the men's free skate is coming up in about 5 minutes, and we'll see how that one goes, because I think, trust me, Menning is going to occur. And then we end with the pairs free skate, and we'll see whether Sui and Han can make a comeback and win the title here, or Metelkina Perulova or Kanti Machi will do that. So we'll talk to you again soon. Bye.